Every Star Trek movie and TV show by Alex Kurtzman, perhaps no one is as influential in modern Star Trek as Alex Kurtzman. Not only did he help create and conceptualize Paramount Plus' Star Trek franchise, but he also penned the screenplays for J.J. Abrams' first two Trek films. Star Trek 2009 helped introduce a new era of fans to the world of Star Trek and proved to studios that the franchise could still be successful. With his production company, Secret Hideout, Kurtzman helped bring Star Trek into the age of streaming television with the premiere of Star Trek Discovery in 2017. Alex Kurtzman officially began his entertainment career as a writer on Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, and its spin-off, Xena, Warrior Princess. Alex went on to work on the television show Alias and wrote the screenplays for Mission Impossible 3 and the first two Transformers films. Kurtzman also co-created Fringe with J.J. Abrams and Roberto Orci and Sleepy Hollow with Roberto Orci, Philip Iskov, and Len Wiseman. After working together on Fringe, Kurtzman teamed up with Roberto Orci and J.J. Abrams again for Star Trek 2009, his first official foray into the Star Trek universe. Here is Alex Kurtzman's growing Star Trek legacy. Written by Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman and directed by J.J. Abrams, Star Trek 2009 reinvigorated the Star Trek franchise, introducing a whole new generation to the voyages of the USS Enterprise. Star Trek 2009 begins with the destruction of the USS Kelvin, the death of Lt. George Kirk, Chris Hemsworth, and the birth of James T. Kirk, Chris Pine. Having traveled back in time and out for revenge, the Romulan Nero, Eric Bana, wreaks enough havoc to create the alternate Kelvin timeline. Star Trek 2009 centers on the future Captain James T. Kirk as he attends Starfleet Academy, where he meets Dr. Leonard McCoy, Carl Urban, Naoda Uhura, Zoe Saldana, and Spock, Zachary Quinto. The Starship Enterprise later faces off against Nero, saving Earth, but is unable to prevent the destruction of Vulcan. With its action-packed plot and a solid cast, Star Trek 2009 became a box office hit, ensuring that Star Trek remained a fixture of popular culture for years to come. In the sequel to Star Trek 2009, Star Trek Into Darkness adapts the story of one of the most popular original Star Trek films, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Aboard the USS Enterprise, Kirk and Spock embark on a mission to apprehend Commander John Harrison, Benedict Cumberbatch, who turns out to actually be the notorious tyrant, Khan Noonien Singh. Captain Kirk eventually sacrifices himself to save the Enterprise just as Leonard Nimoy's Spock did in Wrath of Khan, but is revived using Khan's blood. Like Star Trek 2009, Into Darkness leans into blockbuster sci-fi action, foregoing the more cerebral aspects of Trek. With a screenplay by Roberto Orci, Alex Kurtzman, and Damon Lindelof, the controversial Star Trek Into Darkness did well at the box office, though not quite as well as its predecessor, and received mostly positive reviews from critics, though mixed reviews from Star Trek fans. Star Trek Discovery brought the franchise into the era of streaming television, opening with a dark, heavily serialized season that was unlike anything Star Trek had done before. Beginning as a prequel to Star Trek, the original series, Discovery had plenty for Trek fans to love and also introduced countless new fans to the franchise. Centering on Michael Burnham, Sonequa Martin Green, Star Trek Discovery featured a new starship with an experimental spore drive and a cast of incredibly compelling characters. Alex Kurtzman has become one of the most influential figures in the Star Trek universe, helping to reshape and revitalize the franchise for modern audiences. With his involvement spanning both television and film, Kurtzman's work has left a significant mark on Star Trek, taking it in bold new directions while still respecting the legacy of its predecessors. His contributions range from co-writing major blockbuster films to spearheading the development of a range of television series that have diversified the stories being told within the Star Trek universe. The J.J. Abrams era. Rebooting the movies, Kurtzman first entered the Star Trek universe through the film series, specifically the 2009 reboot directed by J.J. Abrams. As a co-writer of Star Trek 2009, alongside Roberto Orci, Kurtzman helped reboot the franchise after several years of cinematic dormancy. The film was both a critical and commercial success, praised for its ability to appeal to longtime fans while also drawing in new audiences. By introducing an alternate timeline, the Calvin timeline, Kurtzman and his collaborators were able to recast iconic characters like Kirk, Spock, and McCoy without overwriting the original continuity, giving the franchise more narrative flexibility. The film's approach was dynamic and action-packed, emphasizing character-driven storytelling with a modern sensibility. Kurtzman, as one of the writers, managed to strike a balance between high-octane sequences and moments of humor and heart, reviving the core relationships that had made the original series so beloved. The success of the reboot led to a sequel, Star Trek Into Darkness, 2013, again written by Kurtzman and Orci. This second film proved more divisive, as it reimagined the iconic villain Khan Noonien Singh, but it still cemented Kurtzman's involvement as a key creative force behind the new cinematic direction of Star Trek. Expanding into television, the Kurtzman-led Star Trek universe, following the success of the films, Kurtzman was tapped to bring Star Trek back to television, a medium that had long been the heart of the franchise. With the launch of Star Trek Discovery in 2017, Kurtzman began what would eventually become a multi-show expansion of the Star Trek universe. Discovery, which initially began as a prequel to the original Star Trek series, marked a notable shift in tone for the franchise, introducing darker, more serialized storytelling. As an executive producer and later showrunner, Kurtzman was instrumental in shaping the show's bold new vision. Discovery featured a diverse cast and tackled themes of identity, leadership, and morality in complex ways. While some longtime fans found the shift in tone jarring, Kurtzman's approach brought new energy to Star Trek, exploring territory that the franchise had never delved into so deeply. With its slick production values and focus on character development, Discovery became a flagship series for CBS All Access, now Paramount+, helping to establish the platform as a home for Star Trek content. Following Discovery, Kurtzman continued to expand the television universe with a variety of new shows, each with a distinct focus and tone. Star Trek Picard 2020 marked the return of Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard, one of the franchise's most iconic characters. Rather than simply a nostalgia-fueled revival, Picard presented a thoughtful exploration of an aging hero grappling with his legacy. Kurtzman, as an executive producer, ensured that the show had a more introspective and philosophical tone, diving into issues like loss, redemption, and the passage of time. New Frontiers, animation and comedy. One of the most surprising directions for Star Trek under Kurtzman's leadership has been the embrace of animation and comedy. Star Trek Lower Decks 2020 brought humor into the universe in a way that had never been done before. As an animated series focusing on the lives of the lower-ranking crew members aboard a starship, Lower Decks poked fun at the conventions of Star Trek while still maintaining a deep affection for its source material. Kurtzman's willingness to experiment with tone and genre showed that Star Trek could evolve beyond its traditional boundaries while still being recognizable to fans. In addition to Lower Decks, Kurtzman has overseen the development of Star Trek Prodigy 2021, an animated series aimed at a younger audience. Co-created with Kevin and Dan Hageman, Prodigy follows a group of young characters who discover a Starfleet ship and set out on their own adventures. The series introduces a new generation to Star Trek, continuing Kurtzman's mission to expand the franchise's appeal across different demographics. Returning to classic roots, Strange New Worlds. While much of Kurtzman's work in the Star Trek universe has been about pushing boundaries and exploring new storytelling techniques, he has also shown a respect for the franchise's classic elements. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which debuted in 2022, brings the focus back to episodic storytelling and exploration, a hallmark of the original series and the next